A little exercise before we begin, right? I think she started with an exercise, I'm just continuing with it. As we get into this next session of ours, I just want you guys to help tell me if in the last 24 hours, any one of you have used any kind of AI platform for any kind of search. Yes? Show of hands, please. Wow, lovely. We have a very AI forward audience today. May I be as forward to maybe have one or two of you share what that search was? Yes? Could we arrange for a mic?
On it.
Hi. It was a very basic one, I would say. Since I'm handling a consumer account, it's a smartphone brand. So my recent search was around best smartphone under 30K category.
Oh,
A very
wow.
basic one.
You've completely nailed it to the point where I wanted to bring us. Okay, best smartphone under 30,000. That's lovely. Anybody else who wants to share what their last search was? Yes, Maulik. I know you, Maulik. You're from my team. Yes, Maulik.
So I searched for like SRI form.
Oh, right. The
Yeah.
IR forms that we are filling now.
Yes.
Okay. So, may I ask you guys if you got an answer for what you were looking for? And has that typically been the case when we are going to these AI platforms? Are we getting the answers that we're looking for? What we are seeing as a shift now is that we are not doing what we were doing 2 years ago, which is going on Google and going through the top 10 or 20 blue links that comes to us, yes? We have moved to a behavioral shift where we are actually trusting the AI answers. Now, how does it change for us communicators and marketers in this room? Obviously, when we are trying to communicate for our brands or services, it is very important for us to be in those answers. Just before this session, we were listening into a panel and something stuck with me that Anupama ma'am shared from Vadvani Foundation, right? That finally, it is still going to be a human that decides, 100%. The phone that he ends up buying or how he ends up filling his form is exactly the human doing the job. But the discoverability of the brand has shifted, right? This is exactly the problem that we were trying to solve for about 2 years ago. And in December 2025, we launched something called the GEO Fluent. Typically, what we are seeing is ChatGPT is free on your phone, right? Gemini is now bundled up with your Google search, or it's the Google AI Plus mode that we're going for. Our major telecom brands have bundled up AI platforms as free services with Airtel giving Perplexity and so on. What we are seeing is something that we witnessed in 2016, if you may. Internet became accessible, became cheaper, and here is where we are. We cannot imagine life without internet. Very few of us would actually put off internet and Wi-Fi and hotspot when we go to sleep or when we are not using our phone. It's 24/7 active for us, right? There are probably upgrades that are happening on our phone overnight as we sleep. And in today's time, your Microsoft ecosystem, your G Suite, all is equipped by AI, right? In this behavioral change that is taking us by a storm, we communicators need to be on the top of the AI discoverability for our brands. And hence, it is not just the earned media or the paid stories or the influencers that we have to ensure that our brands come up on, of course. But do we also have to add this one lens, this one layer of where is my brand standing on the AI search? And am I missing out on an opportunity of being discovered if I'm not there on the AI answers? Yes? This is exactly what has been a solution that has been productized in the format that we call GeoFluent, which is looking at overall two things. One, brand visibility and how it has evolved. And second, what does reputation mean in today's time? How do you ensure that when you are coming up on AI search, on the AI summary, your reputation is still intact, your message is still on point, and you are not quoted in misinformation? That's exactly what we are trying to do. But this brings me back to why do we need to do it, right? And that's what we explore in today's panel with my panelists that I would like to introduce once again. Prabhu Ram, who is joining us from the CMR group as Vice President of Industry Research, of course, has been part of digital infrastructure, AI stories, as well as smartphone stories. I'm sure you all would already know him and would have interacted with him. I have interacted with him this year itself, thrice on product, AI services, and digital infrastructure. And today again, we are also welcoming Kamal Kamra, who's joining us as co-founder from Cosmic Cues, and we'll get to know each of our panelists a little more in the journeys that they are crossing and doing in the world of AI. Thank you so much and welcome to this session today. Starting off, can I ask you how AI has changed or evolved what you were doing just 2 years ago?
So thank you so much, Sayesha. She is a great person to be with. Lovely room to be in. Thank you, Karan, for having us. Really appreciate it. Now, she mentioned some of the things which I was going to say, like if you were looking at search just 2 or 3 years back, I would call it as searching for a needle in a haystack. That's the model that used to be there, which means all of those blue links and all. I'm an analyst at the end of the day. What that means is I'm someone who is looked upon to give the direction in terms of how technology is evolving. So if you were to turn the clock back 3 years, we were talking metaverse. 2 years back, it was AI. A year later, it's generative AI. Now it's agentic AI, and then it's personal AI. The speed of change is 90 days or so right now. So for an analyst, the influence that we have, that really comes from how much we are cited. In the old model, how authoritative are we? So it's not about brand ego or anything, but purely why should a brand really think of us? Are we really good in terms of our predictions, in terms of the data that we throw out there? And that's where the citations, which is the media citations, where all I'm being quoted, that comes to play. In the old model, which is the SEO one, those rankings would really help us understand where we are. Now, in the AI phase, that's blurred like anything, right? Am I popping up on ChatGPT? Am I popping up on Perplexity AI? The true and honest answer would be we are just finding our way. There's no one way to look at it. But yeah, things have changed a lot. Now it's no more about the links that we were speaking about earlier. It's not about ranking on the first page or so on. It's more about having that authority being quoted verbatim on the search results. And that's something we, at the last point here, is at CMR this week itself, we did put out one research around how consumer AI is changing as such. And Gen Z, for instance, the first port of call for them is no longer the legacy media as such. It's no longer the print papers or anything. It's purely the tools as such, the AI tools that we are talking of. So within that space, are we relevant? When I say we, it's like analysts, it's like brands, it's like, all of you folks in the room as such. So that's a large question, yeah.
Yes, lovely. And thank you for sharing that, Prabhu, because cross-generational is something that AI has taken over, right? It's not just us talking to the Gen Zs and millennials when we do the AI conversation. A small thing here, five years old niece of mine talks to AI and has all the answers, does not need a grown-up anymore to find any answers for her. While it is true for her, it is also true for my dad. And that's an overall ecosystem that we're looking at. And cross-generationally, if AI is picking up, I now would like to understand from Kamal, you have been part of brands' journey and making them more discoverable on AI, as well as having built a system, a platform that works on AI. How has that journey been for you?
Well, as Prabhu just said, in the last 3 years, a lot of things have shifted. From my personal example, I was a part of Veg Non Veg, which is a sneaker and streetwear brand. And what we saw the shift moving away from keywords and linkings to natural language processing. So people are no more looking at keywords and trying to build your SEO ranking, while it's still there. But what's important is you have to be available at the channels where you build the authority, like Reddit, Quora, Wikipedia. Now these pages have helped us move our organic traffic at Veg Non Veg, and now that I consult other D2C brands, what's important is that the narrative has shifted from product to problem. So earlier, brands were focusing on product-specific narrative, that this is what I am selling, this is what it's about. But now, what you need to do is you need to be a problem-specific narrative. You need to explain. You have to have detailed FAQs on your website in order to be taken up by the generative engine optimization. You need to be available at the channels where people are asking these questions, like Quora, like Reddit. And you need to explain the problem and solve the problem with your product, not necessarily speak about your product per se.
Right.
And then, of course, for last almost 1.5 years, I've been building this CosmicQs.ai, which is an AI product. The difference that we will see going forward is that most of the general AI products like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, these are horizontal products. They are being trained on general intelligence. So eventually it will become AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. But what we are building is a deeper vertical product, which is more about one specific problem and solving it deeper. That's what CosmicQs is. So eventually a lot of new age AI companies will come who will solve the problems vertically. For example, before this, Harjeev was talking about the tool that they have built. So what is it doing? It is actually combining and solving a problem for marketing or for a brand research, taking all other platforms together and building it at a particular vertical level. So that's what we are doing with CosmicQs. We are helping women get better clarity in their life transitions using numerology and psychology frameworks. So the idea is that we build vertically and we help women with deeper questions that Google can't answer.
Yes, and that's a lovely thing you're doing, Kamal. In fact, day before yesterday, when I got to learn about CosmicQs, I was on the platform. I tried it out for myself and it works. And I would urge women here to kind of go forward and try it out. But I want to ask you this one question, Kamal, because something that comes up is that, yes, AI gives you answers that pleases you as well, right? While we have seen that the correction or the right answers coming to us has improved and evolved in the last 3 years from AI, but there's still this one thing that comes to mind. Can I trust this platform when it comes to my mental well-being, right? And when is human intervention really allowed or really needed? How do you take care of that? How do you build a guardrail for that on your platform?
So you said the word, right? Guardrails. Now, there are two things that are happening. I'll answer it in two ways. One is, what kind of guardrails these general AI engines building? What they are doing is as you mentioned, they have evolved, right? Over the period of time, the answers have become better, the guardrails, because that's what happened. The guardrails have started becoming important. When I say guardrail, I especially mean that what are the things that you can solve for and what are the things you can't answer. So you need to inform the AI, you need to set the context. In our case, we have a separate generative engine which has all the intelligence, and we are using these general AI only for LLMs, only for the language processing. So the entire processing happens in our system, in our server, and then it takes information in terms of language only from the LLM. Right. So we have built our own guardrails. For example, if somebody is asking about suicidal thoughts, what would happen? If somebody is asking outside of numerology, for example, a few months back, there was this thing, the guy posted on Reddit that he went to McDonald's and asked McDonald's chatbot to write the entire code for him because they had not built the guardrails, right? So the McDonald's bot started writing coding for this guy, and this guy saved a lot of money by asking McDonald's to write the code for him. But those are the guardrails that ideally McDonald's should have built, and we have built in our system wherein you cannot go beyond. So let's say if somebody is asking questions which are outside of our preview, the bot will not answer. The bot will subtly bring them back to the question saying that, hey, I'm not trained to answer these questions for you. Probably you can go to a general AI engine to get the answers. What I am trained for is to help you get better clarity in your transition and this and that, those things.
You know, why that is important for us to know as communicators is how these systems are really built and what is the kind of information that they are citing, where is it getting that data, what is the kind of content that kind of fits for us, right? that brings me to the content conversation, because when we are running GeoFluent for our clients and trying to, recommend them their strategies based on GeoFluent, one thing that stands out is how you're being cited for the same question on ChatGPT would be very different than the answer that you get on Gemini for the same question versus Perplexity. So the answers are different. The kind of brands that are coming up in those answers are different. And hence what becomes important for us as brands and communicators of those brands is to ensure that we have data and measurement happening across all of those platforms so that we know where is it that we need to dial up and where is it that we are good in terms of our ranking, right? Having said that, and having understood citation that Prabhuram spoke about, and the influential platforms and the role that they play, what is the role that content really plays in today's time? I understand, right? At least as a punchline that we're not writing for humans, just humans anymore. We're also writing for machines. What does that mean when you are quoting content in today's time?
So when we talk about geofluency, right, it's no longer about the excessive verbiage that we used to have in the era before, which meant that, like, if I am as an analyst, if I am too descriptive and then come to the problem statement, then come to the solution statement, like in paragraph 6 or 7, that has no meaning anymore. So which means when we talk to machines or not just humans, the point comes as how can we load up the data right up front, the core argument right up front, because that's what the machine is looking for. And it all boils down to the trust factor, like Kamal spoke of Quora, then comes the analyst. And when you look at a platform like LinkedIn, majority of the content there is now AI driven.
Right.
So there is that element of noise as well. So within that, like, how do you come out as authoritative? That would boil down to the the numbers, the the stats that we have, the conversations that we have around AI and so on. The good part, the journey that I have had, again, last 3 years, much before all of these geo and all came in, is to structure my thoughts in a clear 3-section format, which is, why does this really matter? What's making news? And what's the bigger picture? So, which meant that, like, within those 3 sections, I have to really boil down my thoughts, really be articulate enough in terms of the data, the insights that I'm putting out. There is no more, verbiage just for the sake of verbiage.
Right.
And this all happened before Geo came into the picture.
Right.
So, which means now I'm being told, I checked with Perplexity, am I on the right track? And then I checked again with Cloud, am I on the right track? They were like, hey, you're GeoFluent now. This is what it is all about,
Right.
So that matters a lot. Again, as I said, that matters because of the relevance that analysts have for brands. That's the relevance that we have for the clients that we have, and for us as the trusted partners as such. Yeah.
Right. That's very, very important. Kamal, if I could extend the same question to you, how is, so while Prabhu spoke about it from media perspective, for brands, right, putting out content there, what is that one guiding rule that you would like to leave them with?
Yeah. So, to take up from you, I think we stopped writing for humans long time back. We have been always writing for machines. Earlier it was keyword based, SEO articles and this and that. And now it's for GEO, right? So, okay, so I look at it from that perspective. There are 3 layers that you need to build for. And this is very important for the brands sitting in the room. You cannot ignore the SEO layer. The SEO layer is still there. Please don't ignore that. Continue to build for your SEO. That makes you findable. Then there is a layer of AEO, which is answer engine optimization. So you are answering questions that your public is asking, like your audience is asking. So if you're a skincare brand, they are not asking, tell me the best sunscreen. There's very few people who probably be asking that. But what they're asking is they're coming with problems. They are saying, this is what I face. This is the problem I'm having. This is the situation that I am in, and I need a solution for that. So you start answering those questions. And that's what I meant when I said previously that start with the problem. So this is the AEO layer. And the final layer is the GEO layer, which is Generative Engine Optimization, which talks about the earned media. So GEO, One, AEO answers your queries. So if you're answering in your FAQs, if you're answering on Reddit, if you're answering on Quora, it will pick up.
Right.
Second is, it will recommend you. That is the finest layer, that is the topmost layer, which is GEO. How do you ask the generative engines to recommend you? That's where you need to be cited. You need to have that earned media, and there are a lot of PR professionals also in the room. I think it becomes even more important now because a lot more people would be interested in ensuring that they are shown at least in the results, right? And the generative engines are, talking about them, recommending them. So for that, you need to have the right earned media. You need to have people talking about you. You need to have reviews. You need to. So it's not just what I am talking about my brand on my website. It's about what others are talking about you. And the generative engine only will recommend you if it has consensus. So if every other website is talking the same thing about you, so then channel becomes important. So I tell the brands, especially the D2C brand, the funnel that we knew, top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, has broken now. People are coming from all across. People are coming from every channel. Some people will discover you on Reddit. Some people will discover you on Quora. Some people might discover you on a answer that the AI has given. Some people, and of course, almost 48% of the answers that Google is now giving are AI responses. It's not just the keywords or the links, right? So it needs to be recommended, and that is the topmost layer. So I think the brands will now have to start thinking from all three perspectives and not just from the perspective of SEO.
Absolutely, and that's a very valid point that we need to be looking at now. One development that happened last week was now Google is allowing Meta apps also and grabbing data from there as well, citing that on AI is going to be the next step. In that, what are your thoughts of us being, as brands, being available across multimedia platforms? How much is that very, very important today?
I think it's getting, frankly, AI is at a very nascent stage and it's getting nuanced day by day. So every company wants the share of that pie and they will bring up different things and they will try to do different things. Like Google has announced, but in India they haven't launched yet. So yes, creator economy will make a lot of difference. But what I feel, and we used to spend a lot of money on performance marketing at Veg Non-Veg, plus the brands that I consult. I think performance marketing is not just the only answer. The brands will now have to start investing in the brand narrative also. They will have to start working with not just the top influencers, but micro and nano influencers also, because they will play a lot of important role in building that narrative across the channels for you. And of course, social media channels will start picking up. Google has started picking it up in SEO, but they were not picking it up. So what they have announced is that now you can add them as a property in your search console. That means now you can influence the search engine with your content. And that's what's going to happen now. Earlier, it was all keywords or maybe hashtags and stuff like that. But now, and most of the, I don't know if you notice on Reels, on Meta, it has started translating also. It is capturing all the content that you're speaking. So videos are now getting converted into transcribed audios and transcribed text, which then goes into the media, right? Which that goes into these generative engines and everything. So I think the race has just begun. We are very early in this, and it's gonna shape up how brands show up in the market.
Right, absolutely. And while we've spoken about our brands and the brands that we are taking care of course, as individual communicators and marketers, it's very important for us to build and have a personal brand of ourselves as well, which kind of shows us the persona, because at the end of the day in the industry, we are the product as well, right? When we look at that, and I remember having this conversation with you earlier this week over a cup of coffee, Prabhu, and you shared some really amazing things. If you would like to extend that as to why, obviously why it is important for us to have a personal brand. And if I were looking at social media platforms in today's time, what is the different approach that I should have across platforms to be A, visible, and B, AI discoverable as well.
So what Kamal was saying all about and what we have been discussing throughout is the share of voice. That's what really would matter going forward. Not more about anything else, but what is that share of voice that we have? And when I say we, it's a brand, we represent the company that we work for, but more importantly, who we are as such. Now, one of the things which I was telling you earlier, and just for the audience, for those of you who have not met me before, one perk and one pitfall of being an analyst is that you're mostly up in the air, so which means if I were to look at the data that I have, it would say that it's 1 lakh kilometers or whatever, traveling across. So how do you really connect with other humans when you go into a meeting? It's no longer about asking them how are you and so on and so forth. So there are those non-verbal cues that's available on social. So folks who follow me on, say, Instagram, they know that I love coffee. They know that I love art. They know that I love gardening as such. Those set the conversation as such. When they look at the long-form conversations that I have on LinkedIn, that's again very much structured much before GEO came into the picture. The same thought extends in terms of the media bites that I give, whether it's international or whether it's national media as such. And in a world where it's all about AI, while the brands that we work for would matter, importantly, we as brand custodians would matter even more. That's where your own personal brand comes to the being, and in that sense, how much you put out yourself out there, that would really count. There are those guardrails, like I'm also a very private person as such, which means that not many would know like what's happening on my personal side, or the fact that like I'm the only man in the house, like I'm dominated by women. I just share that only on platforms like this, which means I've got my wife, I've got my teens who control and who analyze each and everything I say, the way I sit, the way I talk, and those feedbacks help me, So all in all, I'm saying in a world which Kamal described, the layers that we spoke of, it's all about how we as personal brands really matter.
Really, absolutely. And I think I can testament to that, right? Because so we have an enterprise brand that is already active on our GeoFluent tool. I'm not at the liberty of sharing the name of the brand, but what the tool does really give us is the top influential voices for this month that I should be engaging with if I were to bring my brand up on AI search, right? That's what is the churn that we go through every month before we are submitting our monthly plans and looking at our strategies. Earlier, CMR used to come up for us, of course, and we used to talk to Prabhu for that. Now the personal brand Prabhu Ram on LinkedIn channel is also coming up, right? And that is the importance of that. Tomorrow, us as communicators being recruited, right? And this room is more full with communicators right now. In terms of recruitment, our top experience, are we cited to the HR recruiters? Because you look for it and your dream jobs are going to have AI-equipped product, AI-equipped HR executives who are out there looking for you. So you coming up on search is as important as your brands coming up on search. And with that, I just want to leave with a small experiment, of course. I've been recording this session on Copilot, right? I'm going to remove the recording currently. So here's a takeaway that it's loading now for me. And that takeaway, it says, if there's one takeaway I'd leave you with today, it's this. AI isn't changing how people search, true. It is changing how people discover, decide, and trust. The organizations that invest in credibility today will be the ones AI recommends tomorrow. Oh, it also thanks you guys. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience. And a huge thank you to Kamal and Prabhu for being here. Thank you. Thank you, Copilot. And thank you all for being such a lovely audience. Thank you so much.